It's an occasion of course, profound grief, loss, but also an occasion of collective shame.
Because 1 year ago, Manipur tore apart.
War is a no-win situation. Violence is a no-win situation for everyone. The only way forward, in my opinion, is love, compassion, reflection, and forgiveness.
Target violence is a terrible thing because your neighbor is your enemy, your friend is your enemy, and the state is absent.
We have friends across communities whose voices are silent, but deep inside, we stood against the tide.
Let's forget about our governments. If they're failing us, we'll fight them. But let's find our own capacities to reach out.
ये कार्यशाला है सिविल वॉर की। वो एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं कि अगर पूरे मुल्क में सिविल वॉर होगी तो उसे किस तरह से हैंडल किया जाएगा, किस तरह से चलाया जाएगा और मुल्क को किस तरह से बर्बाद किया जाएगा।
आज मैं लड़ रहा हूँ माँ के सपनों को बचाने के लिए।
If we had to, we could feed a multitude. With our sorrows, if we had to, we could name a loss for every other drop of rain.
जब खून से लथपथ हाथों में इस देश का परचम आ जाए और आग लगाने वालों को फूलों से नवाजा जाने लगे, तब समझो मजहब और धर्म नहीं, तहजीब लगी है दाव पर। रंगों से भरे इस गुलशन की तकदीर लगी है दाव पर। उठो के हिफाजत लाजिम है इस जाम के इस पैमाने की।
जिस राम के नाम पे खून बहे उस राम की इज्जत क्या होगी। अल्लाह के नाम पे कत्ल करे उस नाम की वक़्त क्या होगी। जिस दीन के हाथों लाज लुटे उस दीन की कीमत क्या होगी। ए रहबरे मुल्को कौम बता, ये किसका लहू है, कौन मरा। ये किसका लहू है, कौन मरा।
I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Karwan and Mohabbat. Today is a first of its kind of an occasion for me personally, where we are commemorating 1 year of the outbreak of violence in Manipur, while the violence is still ongoing, and it's an occasion of course, profound grief, loss, but also an occasion of collective shame, where as a democracy, no less its mother, we have completely enchanted ourselves with the news cycle and forgotten that in a corner of our country there have been lives lost and lives destroyed for generations to come. And so it's a somber occasion to welcome you all, but thank you for joining us. We'll start with multi-faith prayers. Some of us will say the prayers of the faiths we follow. I would like to invite Ashmanda now to say a few words and invite everyone for the prayers. Thank you.
Friends, Zindabad, as Jatin said, we are gathered here on a very somber occasion. Because 1 year ago, Manipur tore apart in something that can only be described as a civil war situation. Nearly 225 people have lost their lives. At least 28 people are missing. 1,500 people were injured, some quite badly. The incidents of sexual violence, we have no numbers. Thousands of habitations and hundreds of villages are completely burnt to the ground. at least 50,000 people are completing a year now in relief camps with no hope or any prospect of their life returning to normal, of going back to the places that they had grown up in. I recall in one of my visits to the relief camps, there was this young child. He was sightless, very active, very very sort of full of life, and he was having a very animated conversation with his mother. And when I asked what was he saying, the question he was asking his mother was, "Why did people come and burn down our village?" And I was wondering how any of us will ever be able to explain that to that child. We're gathered here, it's a small group of us. We are also through Facebook Live, I hope, and our recording, we hope that we will be reaching out to our brothers, sisters, and children in Manipur to say that we stand with them. As Jatin said, with solidarity, sharing their pain, but also in deep shame that our democratic processes seem to have been completely unequal to holding governments accountable. We saw a situation where police armories were looted. Some 5,000 modern firearms, light machine guns, mortar guns are now in the hands of civilians. A border has been drawn on the state, which is much more uncompromising than most international borders, and because if you belong to one community, you simply cannot cross to the other side, or your life is in danger. So, in a situation of this kind, we thought that the very least we could do was to come together in solidarity. It's in numbers a small gathering, but I think it's a meaningful group that has come together. May I first request that we start, all of us, by just standing for a minute in tribute to the memory of those who lost their lives. Thank you. In the first part of our tribute today, we thought that some of us who are believers in our respective faiths may come forward and say a few words of prayer. I'd hope that some more friends from Manipur would be here and we would start with them. But for some reason, they haven't arrived yet, except my very dear friend Sem. And I request you to start the prayers. Come.
I'm extremely happy to be here. And her sir has been extremely considerate for the people of Manipur, recognizing their sufferings. And he was instrumental in bringing me and one brother Bidan together last week. Otherwise, we wouldn't have talked together. So I'm happy to be here today once again. I like to read a portion before I pray. I'm so sorry Bidan is not able to make it because of health, but I have invited a friend, Vigil. He is on the way. I hope he will be able to share some of his thoughts. And this friend, Vigil, and I will college classmates in graduation, post-graduation, and after that we work together. When the conflict started, I was at home in Manipur. My house, my car, my village is burned down on 5th June. And he sent me, oh, my friend, my brother Vijay is already here. And what really touched me was he sent me a message and he said, Benny, this is not Meitei culture. I don't accept this. And he also sent me 10,000. In whatever form you can use it, use it. I don't accept it. So we have friends across communities whose voices are silent, but deep inside, we stood against the tide. And I'm so happy my brother is here today. Thank you. I will be reading a portion. This is a cry for justice to the Lord. Let me start. Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 1, 2, 3, 4. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? All cried out to you, violence, but you do not save. Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrong? Destruction and violence are before me, and there is strife, and conflict abounds. Therefore the law is paralyzed, and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous, so that justice is perverted. That is the cry and the word of many of the victims who are crying out. And we have nowhere to go. Our leaders are silent at the state, at the national level. Everyone longs for peace. I cried for peace. And today, we are here observing the first anniversary. And I'm so happy that you gave me this opportunity. I will read a line and close my prayer. Lord, my heart is weeping inside of me. The fate of the people of Manipur is deeply hurting. It's been a year and nothing gets better, even turning worse. Many are rendered homeless. We are harder in relief camps. When I saw the dead, the bodies uncared, unclaimed, I have no words to express my anger. Oh Lord, I pray you will listen the cry of the people of Manipur. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I invite Vijay, please.
It's very heartening and very sweet to see everyone coming out. And I did not come prepared for a speech. My friend invited me, so I'm just here. So I'll just say a few words from my heart and with a short prayer. My name is Vijay. I belong to the Meitei community, and my brother Sam belongs to the Kuki community. We have been friends for a long time. We have spent many times in his village, which is called Songlung, which is in the outskirts of Imphal. And I was just imagining the worst when the violence started. I called up my brother and he said, my village has been burned. A village where we have spent many moments together. So So that is one village. The entire village has been dislocated, and there are many people who are dislocated from the Manipuri community, from More, from Churachampur, and from Imphal. All the cookies are out. And the saddest thing is that the narrative that I see in social media is one of finger pointing and blame. The Meiteis are blaming the cookies, and they are, in a way, dehumanizing them, saying that they are worth killed. You know, they are no longer humans, they should be killed. And the same narrative is going from the other community. And there are some powerful groups within both the communities who are pushing both the narratives, these narratives. War is a no-win situation. Violence is a no-win situation for everyone. And people who speak of peace are threatened. People who speak of peace and reconciliation are marginalized. So the dominant narrative is one of violence. And one political group saying, I'm the savior of the Meiteis. The other political group saying, I'm the savior of the cookies. So the narrative, so it's a blame game, finger pointing, which is not leading anywhere. The only way forward, in my opinion, is love, compassion, reflection, and forgiveness for the other community. That has to start, and I think only through forgiveness and compassion will meaningful action come. The present kind of action is all about blaming, finger pointing, killing the other. So my only prayer is that common sense prevails, love prevails, kindness prevails. That's my prayer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay. May I now invite Saida Hamid, who's like an icon in so many ways for many of us, to offer some prayers.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कारवान मोहब्बत and everyone who has come this evening and all the people whose strength, underpinned this event. My colleague John, Dimple, Surur, and so many others who I've met after a long time. I was asked by Harsh ke ek prayer or ek poem, right? So, I picked up in Quran, the essence of the Quran is in 7 lines, and Gohar would know it better than me, and that is the Surah Fatiha. 7 lines is the essence of the Quran, and it's very important that the 7 lines have been explicated in English. I'm not going to read the original Arabic, but it's commentary. This little commentary is by Maulana Azad, and the translation into English is by Dr. Zakir Hussain. And today, Dr. Zakir Hussain's death anniversary, and I feel if people, Maulana Azad and Pandit Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi are there in Harsh's room, if these personalities had existed today and some semblance of what they held, Manipur would never have happened. So I won't say much more about that. Everything a lot has been said. So I'm just going to recite a few lines from Surah Fatiha, translated by, explicated by Maulana Azad and translated by Dr. Zakir Hussain. And essentially these lines from Surah Fatiha talks about the universality of Islam, something which is completely antithetical and something that we don't hear a lot, the kind of epithets that are used for Islam. So, Surah Fatiha, here is a person singing the praise of his Lord. But the Lord he praises is not the Lord of any particular race or community or religious group, the Lord of all the worlds. Rabbul Alameen, the source of sustenance and mercy uniformly for all mankind. The devotee invokes God in the name of his attributes, but of all the attributes, those of mercy and justice particularly strike his mind, as if divinity manifests itself for him only in divine justice and mercy, and that all he knows of God is nothing except that God is just and merciful, and that he bows down his head in supplication and admits of his entire dependence on this God, Allah. And then I skip a few lines and I reach the end. The path that he wishes to walk on is not the path devised by any particular religious group. This is Maulana Azad, Dr. Zakir Hussain, and the soul of the Quran, the Surah Fatiha. It is not the path devised by any particular religious group. The path that he has in view is the royal road, the straight path, which the founders of all religions and all truthful people have walked on, whatever the age or country they belong to. In his anxiety to keep to this path, he seeks the protection of Allah. He wants to be saved from either straying away from the straight path or from taking the paths which wayward people have. And while so wishing, he does not refer to the communities or religious groups to which these wayward people have belonged. What he asks for is the privilege to walk on a path which has meant the happiness of all mankind, and not on a path which has led to their ruin. Essentially, this is the Surah Fatiha, this is the soul of the Quran. And I say today, in this context of 1 year of Manipur, having been eyewitness, Chashmdeed Gawah of some parts of Manipur, which I happen to be in, and I have to agree with Harsh, and that's the last thing I'll say, is that LOC between Bishnupur and Churachandpur was even more stringent than the LOC between India and Pakistan. That's all. Thank you.
So, John, some prayers.
My dead father would not forgive me if I said all that I want to say while sitting down. So, I am a chance Christian for the simple reason that I was born to Mary Samuel, my mother, long time ago. But being born to a Christian woman means by the time you're 5, you know some essential prayers to ward off the darkness, to face school examinations, to pray for sweets, possibly for a tricycle. Those, if you call them Christian prayers, are my prayers. But I understand what deep meaning they have. In Karwan and Mohabbat, with Harsh, we went to many places seeking to empathize with victims of the cow protection racket that had swept India some years ago. We met people who had been lynched. And to global surprise, we met the families of 2 Catholics who were lynched for carrying beef. When we went there, and I suppose looking at me and my physical difference or my tongue difference with others, the widows invited me to visit the graves in the forests of their dead husbands, where quickly they put flowers and leaves and asked me to pray. Because in the 8 months or a year that they had been dead, no bishop, no priest had ventured into that area because of the Naxalites, because of these cow people. And from the depths of my stomach, I could convey some prayer as a sign of solace, as a sign of solidarity, and as a sign of reconnecting these forsaken widows with the community which had not found courage to reach them. So I have left a candlelight ceremony at the Sacred Heart Cathedral, the seat of the Archbishop of the Catholic Church of Delhi, which will begin in a few minutes, because that's a Christian meeting. Even if others come there, the backdrop is the huge cathedral. Most of the people there would be Catholics, some other Christians with candles that they used to light every Wednesday, every Friday, every Sunday. And it will reach out tomorrow, maybe to some people through the media. It will not be an opportunity to talk to others, to talk to the victims, to talk to people like me, who may not say the same prayers, but think the same way. So I thought it would be not only just and fair, but a privilege to come here, to pray and to speak. I was with Harsh when we visited these state refugee camps. As is our want, and as is Harsh's want in particular, we visited all the victims. The Maithis, sir, first, because we landed at Imphal, and the Cookies, with whom we spent time in my churches, which are now refugee camps, as is proper in a way. We visited them and saw the terribleness of what was happening. With us were 3 doctors who could see what was happening deeper than we could do. And we came back and Harsh wrote a report and then wrote a letter to members of parliament asking them help. Government of India, of course, in its kindness, has stopped foreign aid to come to Manipur, through the church at least and through decent NGOs. So they continue, many of them, in the camps to eat boiled rice with salt, occasionally with some vegetable. There's hardly any pork there at all. That is the condition. For me as a reporter, I've been to Manipur many times in the last 5 years, 50 years, not 5. Many times. I've seen Cookies and Nagas clash. I've seen Nagas clash with others. I've seen Cookies clash with others. Violence, co-violence, we have seen. Targeted violence is a slightly difficult thing which you see in Sri Lanka, in Lebanon, in Vietnam, in Cambodia, those places. And now in parts of Europe. Target violence is a terrible thing because your neighbor is your enemy. Your friend is your enemy. And what, when you can't trust your friend, is a terrible thing. And the state is absent. At least that's what we think. But the state is siding with elements which are not even honest to the people they claim to represent, who paid thugs, protected by politicians, protected by large industrialists. That is the background in which we meet today. And some of us have been meeting through the last 1 year on a daily basis. I would like to point out, since 2 of our brothers are here, that while a lot of Cookies have been killed, a lot of in fact, Cookie churches in the valley have been destroyed, but 82 Maithis have also been killed. About 215 to maybe 235 Maithi Christians have been killed. Maithis are Christians also, and some of them are communists also, and some of them are Vaishnava Hindus, and some of them believe in native faiths. There's the freedom of religion. But 215 mighty churches have also been destroyed, and they should also be remembered together with all the victims. Before I read the small portion from the Old Testament which I want to read, I'll just read a prelude which a friend said to me, to people like me who pray twice a year. And he says, "May God bless us with enough foolishness to believe that our tiny actions can really make a difference. May we be blessed with audacity to believe that our protest rallies matter even as violence continues unabated." Amen. And with this, I will read a prayer that Catholic children, like the Hanuman Chalisa or ayahs from the Quran, some of these are tied to your neck as talismans, or to your arm, or the parchment kept below your pillow, possibly with a knife and a cross. It's Psalm 23rd. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me behind the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yes," and this is my favorite, "and yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over in gratitude. And though I walk in this valley, your staff and your rod will comfort me." For me, literally, as I hold my own staff for security, prayers like this are assurances not from God, for that we know not, but from each other. For as long as goodness continues, as long as good people remain, like my mighty brother with his instant empathy with his cookie brother, like Harsh and the Karwan Mohabbat, who reach out to people who will not vote for them, and who also walk through their own valley of the shadow of death. This gathering is, in fact, as she said, the crux of this prayer. And surely, when so many people of goodwill gather, the Lord is with us. Because the Bible says, even if 2 or 3 were to gather, Jesus' assurance is that he would be there. And I hope that because the cookies are all Christians, the Nagas are all Christians, the Maitis are also partly Christian, that some good sense, some divine sense, this assurance will build into them as they gather together and negotiate a just peace which is just to each one of them. Harsh and I, he spoke. We remember those girls who were talking to us about their own torture. If you do not tell anybody who is who, those 2 tapes could run together, and you would think both the girls belong to the same community. They do not, but they do belong to the human community. And I think it's that I take courage. Not today, not tomorrow, the day after. Certainly, there will be a peace, and perhaps, if it is just, it will be a lasting peace. For that, governments have to take steps. For that, politicians have to take steps. For that, armies and police have not to take step, but to step back. I thank you.
Thank you, Saida, John, for very lovely words of solace. Next, we'll play a video. This is a conversation that we had, a very exceptional conversation. released today on Scroll. We wanted it to be released today. The theme was, what will it take to bring back peace to Manipur? And after a lot of thought, my very dear friend now, Sem, and a professor who teaches in Zakir Hussain College, Bidhan Leshram, who was unwell and couldn't come. Together they had this conversation which was actually so moving. I wish we had a full hour, but we'll show you a few minutes of the conversation. This was really heartfelt answer from both sides, and very courageous answers from both sides about what it would take to bring back peace to Manipur. We can put off the lights.
Let me now ask probably the most painful question that I have to ask, and that is, where does Manipur stand today? I know you have family, you have friends, you have communities. You must be getting the news all the time. But I've been to Manipur a few times. You find that people are still stranded in camps. The place is brutalized, divided, killings still continue. The fires that were lit a year ago seem to be still burning. The wounds that were placed on bodies and hearts and minds, they don't seem to have been healed so far. But that is still, as an outsider, this is what I see. Where would you place Manipur today? Not looking back in the past year, but where is it now? Vidhan.
Well, to be honest, the state and the people there, we are in a wretched condition today.
Wretched condition.
Yeah, it's where our lives are torn apart, and the word tragedy itself falls short of describing this tragedy. So it is like erecting barriers and barriers upon barriers and barriers between communities, and the vibrancy that marked the life of cultural communities there has been completely silenced. And our silence is a very mournful and painful silence. And voices that are unreasonable, voices that should not be able to spring up in a decent society, have taken over the public discourse. So sane and reasonable voices are finding it very difficult, in fact, to be able to say that this madness must stop. So we are in a very sad situation, to be honest.
And that is why we are sitting here and talking. Sen, what would you like to tell us about where your homeland stands today?
First, I cannot hold myself for to talk about the present situation. Let me share a little bit of what we had in the past. As I said, there was peaceful coexistence and so much of oneness and relationship. And today, that relationship is, totally, you can say, broken. I have many good friends. I cannot meet them. And so the whole society or the whole community, there is a marked division on community lines, which
it's almost like a border, like an international border. You just can't cross.
yes, which we have never experienced. For example, Vidan will know, there is a word called Itao. My grandpa had his friend called Itao, and his friend's children become my father's friend. And because of that relationship, I stay with them when I was studying in class 5. And that is the relationship. And that kind of love and relationship.
And they were from which community? They were from the Meitei community.
Yes, the Meitei community. I am from the hills. And when I come down to Infa for study, it was my grandpas and my father's Itaos who accepted me as part of their family. And I keep asking, will that kind of relationship will happen? Yes, maybe, but it will take a lot of effort. And now, like we done say, not only that, a section of the victims, let's say the directly affected people, I'm also affected, but my loss is nothing compared to people who have lost their loved ones, their properties. When I say this, I'm talking in both sides. It's not only the Kukis, it's also the Meiteis. So on both sides, people have lost. And what is there for them? Who is talking about them? Who is thinking about people living in relief camps? I have visited many relief camps. I don't know much about in the valley because I could not go there.
Yeah, I have visited camps on both sides, and it's, I mean, nobody should have to live the way that people are living in the camps.
Yes. So even very basic minimum amenities are missing. And the children, since I work with schools, my burden is on the children, the future of these children. How many of the children are affected? And what do they get out of this? So, and do they have hope? I'm not sure. That is the situation at the moment.
That really brings me, we cannot allow our people, and when I'm saying our people, the Manipuri people, Kuki, Meitei, Naga, to live without hope. That is not acceptable. Which is what brings me really to the central question of our discussion. And whoever wants to might take this up. My question is, what will it take to bring back peace to Manipur? What will it take to bring back hope to the people of Manipur? And let's hear, let's step back a little bit. We understand the constraints, and I'll talk about the constraints as well. But what really should happen? Who would like to?
Harsh, we are here as an individual. I believe we cannot undo what has happened, but we can take some steps for the future. So what has happened and what continue to happen is not acceptable. So people, as on today, there are people who is talking about peace. Nobody.
Almost nobody, yes.
No one, almost nobody. And Vidan and I know that there will be a backlash. Who authorized them to talk about peace? But we come in that.
No, and it's taken courage for you to come out and say there should be peace.
Yes.
And that really reflects on how difficult a time we are in, that to speak of peace requires courage.
Yes. So we are here appealing to both the communities and leaders And what would it take? What would it take to bring peace back to Manipur? Maybe a couple of ideas. One, if you ask me, what do I expect from the government? I think the leadership, both at the center and the state, if they have done, what they have done is not enough. And I, as an individual person, I didn't expect much to come forth in the future. Maybe talking about the government, the change in leadership, if that can happen, would be one desire, I would say, because we have seen what our leadership has done, and we cannot allow to continue to happen this. If the central government is not willing to change, and we have no choice, we cannot do anything about it. But just because we cannot do anything about it, are we that dumb or are we that powerless that we cannot do anything? Should we allow them to manipulate us to continue like this? No. There is something that we can do at individual level, this level.
And what is that?
Yeah, the civil societies. I know in many, my experience, as I said, I lived with the Métis during my childhood. The Métis community is very disciplined, very civilized and society. And I still believe there are many good people who are not just simply not coming out. I would appeal to them to come out and speak in both sides. Speak. We need to start talking. We need to start speaking out. Why should we allow someone to silence us, continue to silence us? One, we can start speaking. We can start reaching out to like-minded people. For example, the fact that I share stage with Bidan today. It's a relationship. We can continue to build at a personal level this kind of discourse. We should be talking. It's a hard discussion, it's a hard issue, but we should be able to talk across the tables. Thirdly, like my childhood experience, that Itao concept, we call it Joel. Itao concept is very powerful. Once I call you Itao, he calls me Itao. He or she is accepted as a part of the family. And there is another concept called Mangay. The ladies who go for business in the market, from the hill, they will have Mangay, Imas, mothers in the valley who also do business. If my mother or my sister takes vegetables or goods from the hills to go and share, she will go to her Mangay first. Whether the goods are good or bad, the Mangay will take it in good and in difficult times. So that kind of relationship, there is a small window, like you say, space available to the people. Why don't we exploit that? Why don't we tap that potential? I don't want to see that we are totally, helpless, or there is nothing we can do about if our politicians are not taking steps. That is what I
think very gentle and quite profound were the things that Sem brought before us. I mean, in his very gentle way, he said the government should change. Or I'll say it more explicitly, that we cannot continue with the government that has failed us so profoundly. And that's about the state government. And the central government should not be allowed to manipulate us. I mean, I think that's one thing I heard him say. The second was that we must bring courage to speak out for peace. There's a total silence about that. And the third that he said is that good people, and there's no shortage of good people in both communities, they must emerge emerge from their silences, come out from their silences, and come out into the center of civil society and reach out to each other. And he also spoke about traditional ways of of relationships that have existed, of the kind that he described, of people between communities. Let us reclaim those. How much do you agree with his suggestions, and what more would you like to add?
I fully agree with Brother Sam. In fact, I would like to supplement some of the things that he said, particularly about this practice of Itao Sanava. Itao is an ancient word for friend. But once you accept somebody as Itao, it's like you are placing your life in the defense of the other, of your friend, the way your friend would also...
You pledge your life
exactly
in protection of that friend.
of that friend, just the way your friend would also place his. And in case one of them happens to expire before the other, the survivor is duty bound to look after the friend's family. That kind of friendship existed particularly between the hill communities and valley Meitei people. I remember my mother's, on my mother's side, my grandpa, maternal grandpa, had a friend like that, had a Itao like that. He had visited us after my maternal grandpa's expiry, after his death, and I was a small kid at that time. So I also have memories of these practices which are dying out, and how my mother received him. And when I told this story, can I take a little more to describe this one particular occasion? This was one evening, the sun had set, and we were running around as kids on the lawns. And came this old gentleman who we had never seen, and we boys and girls were something like 7, 8 of them running around at dusk. And suddenly, my mom came out, and when she saw him, I saw that she had tear-filled eyes, and the grandpa addressed her daughter, my daughter, something like that. So my mother went to the market to buy for her father, for her papa, this eel fish, which she was almost allergic at the very sight of which. But because this visitor, this grandpa, who likes it, she went on her own. She personally went and bought it, and my father cooked it for him. And I slept in the same bed with this grandpa, which was a sign of the bonding that she with grandpa like that. I was a small kid at that time, so that kind of relationship existed, and I remember these practices.
Can I add a little bit though? In this current situation where every heart is dominated, taken over by hatreds and violence, I think we need to fight these hatreds with love and compassion. I believe that every person, you, I, Bidan, we all have compassion. And because of the situation, violence situation has taken my compassion for my brother.
So I have to find that compassion.
Yes, you have to find it back, that compassion. We can fight this hate or hatred with compassion and love. There is no other way that we cannot do it. There has to be that.
I cannot agree with you more, and among other people, Gandhiji kept reminding us, because when partition happened, 1 million people killed each other. And he would often remind us that you cannot fight hate with hate. Hate will only deepen. We'll have to search again for our capacities to love. and it is only that can show us a way forward.
Friends, I have no doubt that you would have been very moved by this conversation. Not just was this conversation profoundly compassionate and wise, it was also very brave for them courageously to come publicly together. Probably the first such meeting in a public forum of a Kuki and Maiti after this year, and to then speak about what they need to do for each other. And at the end of the conversation, I really felt hopeful. And the hope was, let's forget about our governments. If they're failing us, we'll fight them. But let's find our own capacities to reach out in care and love. And therefore, at this stage of our gathering, inviting a few friends to recite some prayers. These are prayers for peace. So we'll hear them. We'll hear Saida Appa and we'll hear Gohar.
So this is actually a poem, but it's called Yes, It Will Rain, or Prayer for Our First Home. It's by Patrick Russell. Here is our little yard, too small for a pool or chickens, let alone a game of tag or touch football. Then again, this stubborn patch of crabgrass is just big enough to get down flat on our backs, with eyes wide open, and face the whole grey sky just as a good drizzle begins. I know we've had a monsoon of grieving, to do which is why I promise to lie beside you for as long as you like or need. We let our elbows kiss under the downpour until we are soaked like two huge nets left beside the sea, whose heavy old ropes strained out with fish. If we had to, we could feed a multitude. With our sorrows, if we had to, we could name a loss for every other drop of rain. All these foreign flowers you plant from pot to pot with muddy fingers, passion, jasmine, tuberose, we'll sip the dew from them. My darling, here is the door I promised. Here is our broken bowl. Here my hands in the home of our dreams. The windows open in every weather, doused or dry. May we never be so parched.
जैसे ही ये खबर आई थी कि वहाँ हज़ारों और लाखों की तादाद में आर्म्स जो हैं वो लोगों के पास पहुँच गए, लुट गए हैं, तो मेरा ये रिएक्शन था जिसने 2002 देखा हुआ था कि ये उससे एक कदम आगे है. वहाँ कार्यशाला थी आपस में मुल्क को, दिमागों को, जहन को, लोगों को बांटने की. यहाँ पर मुझे यकीन है कि ये आरएसएस का प्रोजेक्ट है और यहाँ ये कार्यशाला नई चल रही है और ये कार्यशाला है सिविल वॉर की. वो एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं कि अगर पूरे मुल्क में सिविल वॉर होगी तो उसे किस तरह से हैंडल किया जाएगा, किस तरह से चलाया जाएगा और मुल्क को किस तरह से बर्बाद किया जाएगा. ख़तरा बहुत बड़ा है. सवाल सिर्फ और सिर्फ मणिपुर का नहीं है. मैंने उसी वक्त ये नज़म लिखी थी, आपके खिदमत में पेश है. मणिपुर. सरासर झूठ है, तुम बेखबर थे. सरासर झूठ है, तुम बेखबर थे. तुम्हें सब कुछ पता था. मणिपुर जल रहा था और तुम खामोश थे, चुप थे. ये खामोशी तुम्हारी सियासत का हुनर पहचानती है. ये सीना ठोक कर वहशी दरिंदों की तरह से खून पीना जानती है. इसे मालूम है कब आग लगवानी है बस्ती में. इसे मालूम है वहशी दरिंदों को कहाँ तक छूट देनी है. इसे मालूम है कब तक बरहना औरतों को देखकर खामोश रहना है. इसे मालूम है कब आँख से आंसू के धारों को निकलना है. तुम्हारी ये अदाकारी कि जिस पर नाज है तुमको, ना अब तुमको बचाएगी न ये उनको बचाएगी कि जिनके हाथों तुमने मुल्क की इज्जत को बेचा है. तुम्हारी ये अदाकारी सियासत के खुले बाजार में अब बिक नहीं सकती. हदें जब पार हो जाएं, वतन की आंख में आंसू हो जब शर्मिंदगी के, तो गुस्सा फट निकलता है. आंसू हो जब शर्मिंदगी के तो गुस्सा फट निकलता है, डरो उस वक्त से जब वतन की औरतें उठकर तुम्हें उरियां करेंगी। डरो उस वक्त से जब इस वतन की औरतें उठकर तुम्हें उरियां करेंगी, तुम्हारी इस अदाकारी का पर्दा फाड़ देंगी। कोई बच्चा कहेगा बताओ माँ, कोई बच्चा कहेगा बताओ माँ, यही राजा है ना जिसने किसी बुन यही राजा है ना जिसको किसी बुनकर ने सबके सामने नंगा किया था, यही राजा है ना। एक नज़्म और आज फिर से मणिपुर के नाम। जब साजिश हादसा कहलाए और साजिश करने वालों को गद्दी पे बिठाया जाने लगे, जब साजिश हादसा कहलाए और साजिश करने वालों को गद्दी पे बिठाया जाने लगे, जमहूर का हर एक नक्श कदम ठोकर से मिटाया जाने लगे, जब खून से लथपथ हाथों में इस देश का परचम आ जाए और आग लगाने वालों को फूलों से नवाजा जाने लगे, जब कमज़ोरों के जिस्मों पर नफ़रत की सियासत रक्स करे और इज़्ज़त लूटने वालों पर खुद राज सिंहासन फ़ख्र करे, जब मुनसिफ सहमे सहमे हों और मांगे भीख हिफाजत की, ऐवान सियासत में पे हम जब धर्म के नारे उठने लगें, जब काम तो मांगे हाथ मगर कुछ हाथ ना आए हाथों के और खाली खाली हाथों में शमशीर थमाई जाने लगे, तब समझो मजहब व धर्म नहीं तहजीब लगी है दाव पर, रंगों से भरे इस गुलशन की तकदीर लगी है दाव पर, उठो के हिफाजत लाजिम है इस जाम के इस पैमाने की।
इनकी तो ओरिजिनल है, मेरी तो चोरी की हुई।
बड़े शायर
नहीं आपसे बड़ा।
I think the country has the foremost poet in Gauhar Raza. इन्होंने जो काम किया है, it's amazing. जो दादी को पोती का ख़त जो इन्होंने लिखा है, मैं तो 2 बार उसको पढ़ के रोई हूँ। And it's a summary of the conditions today. तो वाकई मेरे पास कुछ ख़ास नहीं है, मगर क्योंकि मैंने लिख के लाई हूँ, इनकी हर्ष की बात तो निकाल ही नहीं सकता। तो I'm sorry if it's in another, it's a different language, but I'm sure you understand somewhat. तो ये this is for the leaders today. ये साहिर लुधियानवी की नज़्म है, बनामे रहबरे मुल्क कौम, the leaders of this country. धरती की सुलगती छाती से बेचैन शरारे पूछते हैं, तुम लोग जिन्हें अपना न सके वो खून के धारे पूछते हैं, सड़कों की ज़बां चिल्लाती है सागर के किनारे पूछते हैं, ये किसका लहू है कौन मरा, ये किसका लहू है कौन मरा, ए रहबरे लीडर ए रहबरे मुल्को कौम बता, ये किसका लहू है कौन मरा, ये जलते हुए घर किसके हैं, ये जलते हुए घर किसके हैं, ये कटते हुए तन किसके हैं, the bodies that have been slaughtered, ये कटते हुए तन किसके हैं, तकसीम के अंधे तूफान में लुटते हुए गुलशन किसके हैं, ये बदबख्त फिजाएं किसकी हैं, बर्बाद नशेमन किसके हैं, the houses that have been destroyed, बर्बाद नशेमन किसके हैं, कुछ हम भी सुने हमको भी सुना, ए रहबरे मुल्को कौम बता, ये किसका लहू है कौन मरा, ये किसका लहू है कौन मरा, किस काम के हैं ये दीनो धर्म, ये आपको आता है कि किस काम के हैं ये दीनो धर्म, दो शर्म का दामन चाक करें, those naked cookie girls who were paraded and raped and slaughtered, किस काम के हैं ये दीनो धर्म जो शर्म का दामन चाक करें, किस तरह के हैं ये देश भगत जो बसते घरों को खाक करें, those houses that were flourishing, اس بستے گھروں کو خاک کریں. یہ روحیں کیسی روحیں ہیں جو دھرتی کو ناپاک کریں. آنکھیں تو اٹھا, نظریں تو ملا, اے رہبر ملک و قوم بتا, یہ کس کا لہو ہے, کون مرا. جس رام کے نام پہ خون بہے اس رام کی عزت کیا ہوگی. اللہ کے نام پہ قتل کرے اس نام کی وقت کیا ہوگی. جس دین کے ہاتھوں لاج لٹے اس دین کی قیمت کیا ہوگی. انسان کے اس ذلت سے پرے, انسان کی ذلت ڈسگریس, انسان کی اس ذلت سے پرے شیطان کی ذلت کیا ہوگی. یہ وید ہٹا, قرآن اٹھا, اے رہبر ملک و قوم بتا, یہ کس کا لہو ہے, کون مرا. یہ کس کا لہو ہے, کون مرا.
اسی نظم کی آخری لائنیں ہیں جس میں امید ہے. ہم ٹھان چکے ہیں اب جی میں ہر ظالم سے ٹکرائیں گے. تم سمجھوتے کی آس رکھو ہم آگے بڑھتے جائیں گے. ہر منزل آزادی کی قسم ہر منزل پر دہرائیں گے. یہ کس کا لہو ہے, کون مرا. اے رہبر ملک و قوم ذرا آنکھیں تو اٹھا, نظریں تو ملا, ہم کو بھی بتا, یہ کس کا لہو ہے, کون مرا.
It was like as if Sahib was writing for Manipur. Every line, ye taqseem, this partition that has happened. Ye kiska lahu hai, kaun mara. We're coming to a close. There'll be just two more things.
It's quite something to go after that. I was just telling Alpita, I thought that was a wonderful note to close on. But I've got a very short poem that I thought I'll read because it's always seemed to apply every time there's something like what happened in Manipur or something like what happened in Delhi a few years ago. It just seems to kind of remind us of the inevitability of finding hope, I think. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I think it is a poem about hope. This is Ghas by Avtar Singh Sandhu, Pash. It goes, मैं घास हूँ, मैं आपके हर किए धरे पर उगाऊंगा. बम फेंक दो चाहे विश्वविद्यालय पर, बना दो हॉस्टल को मलबे का ढेर, सुहागा फिरा दो भले ही हमारी झोपड़ियों पर. मुझे क्या करोगे, मैं तो घास हूँ, हर चीज़ पर उगाऊंगा. बंगे को ढेर कर दो, संगरूर मिटा डालो, धूल में मिला दो लुधियाना जिला. मेरी हरियाली अपना काम करेगी. 2 साल 10 साल बाद सवारियाँ फिर किसी कंडक्टर से पूछेंगी, ये कौन सी जगह है, मुझे बरनाला उतार देना, जहाँ हरे घास का जंगल है. मैं घास हूँ, मैं अपना काम करूँगा, मैं आपके हर किए धरे पर उगाऊँगा. Thank you.
Thanks, Harsh, for asking me to do this. It's a busy weekend for a lot of people. Otherwise, I think we would have had many more poetry reciters. But it's wonderful. For me, poetry is prayer. And it's lovely to end on this note because it gives us hope. I have a very small poem and a slightly longer poem. The longer poem you all might know, actually. So I'll read the small one first, short one first. It's by the Adivasi poet Jacinta Kerketta. It's called Mere Haathon Ke Hatiyar. I picked 2 because Harsh said we want something hopeful. The first one is grim, so I picked another which is. देख रहा हूँ हर दिन माँ जाती है, पर हाथों में उसके खुरपी और डलिया की जगह तीर और कमान है. भागता हुआ माँ के पीछे पगडंडी तक पहुँच देखता हूँ दूर तक आदमियों का झुंड. जाकर उस भीड़ में गुम हो जाती हूँ माँ. भीड़ नारे लगाती है, मेरी नज़रों से दूर निकल जाती है. उस रात माँ लौट आती है, सफ़ेद पट्टी बंधे उसके सिर से रिस रहा गाढ़ा लाल खून. मैं टुटुर टुटुर ताकता उसे छूकर देखता हूँ, लाल खून और मेरी आँखों में भी लहू उतर आता है. मुझे गोद में लेकर उस दिन माँ ने बस इतना कहा, हम लड़ रहे हैं अपनी ज़मीन और अपना वजूद बचाने के लिए, मेरे बाद तुम्हें भी लड़ना होगा. अगले दिन माँ तीर कमान लिए निकल पड़ी फिर। देर रात घर न लौटने पर सिसकता हुआ मैं रात भर अंधेरे और उजाले की चौखट पर खड़ा उसका इंतज़ार करता रहा, तब भी जाने क्यों माँ नहीं आई। वर्षों बाद जाना मैंने, लेकर वह तीर कमान घर लौटने के लिए तो निकली नहीं थी। आज मैं लड़ रहा हूँ माँ के सपनों को बचाने के लिए, लड़ रहा हूँ उस दर्द के साथ जो मेरे सीने में गहरे खुदे हैं। लड़ रहा हूँ सदियों से, लोगों को ये बस लड़ाई लगती हो। नहीं दिखता मेरे सदियों पुराना दर्द, नहीं दिखता मेरे सदियों पुराना जख्म, नहीं दिखते सर्दियों से दूसरे द्वारा लुटते खसोटते वक्त मेरी देह पर गड़ गए जहरीले नाखूनों के दाग। उन्हें तो दिखते हैं सिर्फ मेरी ज़मीन, जंगल और मेरे हाथों के हथियार। The other one, some of you might be familiar with, slightly long, please bear with me. It's by Maya Angelou, it's called On the Pulse of Morning. A rock, a river, a tree, hosts to species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur who left dried tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully, come. You may stand on my back and face your distant destiny, but seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long, face down in ignorance, your mouth spilling words. Armed for slaughter, the rock cries out to us today, you may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you a bordered country, delicate and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege, your armed struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet, today, I call you to my riverside. If you'll study war no more, come. Clad in peace, I'll sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the time the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew, you still knew nothing, the river sang and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river, the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheikh, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me here beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed on traveler, has been paid for. You who gave me my first name, you, Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you, Cherokee Nation, who rested with me then, forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold, you, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Squat, you, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the crew, bought. Sold, stolen, arriving on the nightmare, praying for a tree. Here, root yourself beside me. I am that tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree, I am yours. Your passages have been paid.
Thank you so much, Arpita. And thank you all of you for having gathered here. It's a few of us in body, but I think a very large number of us in spirit who are with our brothers and sisters in Manipur, sharing the anguish, the pain, the loss of loved ones, the loss of their homes, the loss of a whole way of life. And yet, with the hope that in the end, love will prevail, we will prevail. And so I call upon each of you. There's a candle here. Can I request each one to light a candle to the next? Sandeep, if we could. No, I'll light yours, and you light the next. And then I call upon each of us with our lighted candles to stand. Some of us are people of faith, and some of us are not, but each of us, can we stand together? Can you come around me here? Just if you could all come around me here. Yeah, if everyone could please come here and we tell our people of Manipur that we are with you. Come Ashokji, come all of us, please. I'll start walking and please follow me through this. Yes, come. Please, just let's make a circle here. So one moment, maybe once again close our eyes and send our thoughts, love and our wishes to our brothers and sisters and our children of Manipur. Thank you, Zindabad.
Friends, Chitra Hanthem is known to most Manipuris as a senior journalist who had been a freelance journalist but also have edited our most respected Imphal Free Press. But not many people know her as a poet. Today perhaps is going to be her debut and she will be reading out a poetry that she has written about Manipur and the present crisis that we are having.
So friends, before we end this evening of poetry, it would be incomplete, grossly incomplete to end this evening without poetry from Manipur itself.
Thank you, Tamo. I was inspired to write this after reading a short poem by Dorothy Hunt, which I would like to recite first, and then I would read out the short one that I wrote on my way here. So the poem by Dorothy Hunt is called "Peace is this moment without judgment." Do you think peace requires an end to war, of tigers eating only vegetables? Do you think peace will come some other place than here? Some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment, that is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way. That you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. And this led me to write a short poem where I'm talking more about the losses that have happened. So it goes, a year of violence, a year of hatred, a year of pain, a year of losses manifold, thousands homeless, 200s and more killed, all in a year, 365 days. The hatred in the air, the thirst for blood, a year of prejudice and intolerance. When does it all end? Is peace expensive or is it an illusion? Hands that ought to build are now holding guns and butchering humanity. Where do we leave the suffering? Is peace expensive or is it an illusion? Or maybe we are seeking for peace to come and visit, when we all should look within to be more human for the peace that we seek. Thank you.